Welcome to Wilderness Survival Systems, and thank you for watching. Today we're here on the shores of Clark Canyon Reservoir, just outside of Dillon, Montana. Tough day at work. So we're here today and we're going to talk about what we call our compact survival kit. And we've built this kit really to cover what we call the four main concerns in a survival situation. And those concerns can be dealt with in any given order, depending on your situation. Of course, every situation is different, and what got you there is always different. But those concerns are one, medical emergencies, temperature regulation, water procurement, and being found. Okay, and really you can add things to that and break it down further if you like, but really those are your main considerations. And so let's start right away and get into the kit. And we're going to start with the case, because the case is actually a big part of our kit. We chose this particular case, one, for its size, because we wanted our kit small enough to be carried on the body, yet able to cover those four main concerns pretty easily. And so our kit is MOLLE compatible. And we used MOLLE because, one, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel with some sort of fancy integration system, but it allows you to integrate it into current systems or new systems, and also just be able to carry it on your belt, which is primarily where we carry ours. And this case is divided in the middle, and that allows you to organize the kit the way you'd like to. It opens from the top, so it doesn't clamshell open, making it easier to not lose things in a low dexterity situation, which is important. Okay, and again, MOLLE on the front. It measures about 6 by 5 and about 1.5 inches thick, so pretty small. Now, the first things that we're going to talk about don't necessarily cover the big four concerns, but I feel there's something that every kit should have in them, just because they're tools you need around, and that's what we kind of basically call them as general tools. Okay, the first is a knife, and nobody's going to dispute that you need a good solid knife when you're in a bad situation. And we've looked at a lot of knives, we've tried a lot of different knives out, and the knife that we ended up choosing for our kits was made by Mora Knife, and they're out of Sweden, and it's what they call Eldris is the name of the knife. It's a compact package. I think it's about 4.5 inches long total, handle and blade. It comes with a lanyard with it to make it a neck knife, which is, as you can see, how I carry mine. It is Swiss stainless steel, and the spine on the back of it is an unfinished flat spine. And what that does is makes it work really good with ferro rods, using this to strike a ferro rod. Like I said, Swiss stainless steel. Another nice feature of this knife is that it has a full-size handle, which a lot of compact knives don't, which allows, you see, even in my hands, it works really well. And I use this knife a lot, and it's a great knife. The other basic tool is something I learned a long time ago, is that people don't move around in the dark very well without eyesight, obviously. So we decided to put a flashlight in this kit. The light that we ended up going with is a Coast HX5. Okay, it's a small compact package. It's slide focusable, runs on a single AA battery, has a 130 lumen LED light in it, and makes it easy to pack around. Now, the other nice feature about this particular light is the belt clip on it. It's a standard belt clip that you can hook it to your belt, or you can hook it to the outside of a MOLLE package if you like. You hang it on your pack, whatever you want to do with it. But the other feature of this clip is that it'll go both ways, so you can actually clip this, say, to your hat brim or a sleeve or something like that, if you want to go hands-free and be able to get some work done at night. So it's a great little light, and we use it all the time. Now we're going to move into the big four concerns, and and talk about what we've chosen to put in the kit in order to cover those concerns. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the Zippo Emergency Fire Kit, or EFK. That's what they call it. And I'm going to watch the wind here. The wind has been wreaking havoc with our shot here. Okay, so we went with the EFK. And the neat thing about this kit is it is a waterproof case. So if your kit happens to get wet or whatever, your tinder and your sparker don't get wet, so you don't have to worry about drying them out. But the top end of this kit is basically a sparker, just like you see on any lighter, any Zippo lighter or anything like that. And like that, it uses flints inside of there, and the flints are replaceable in there. And then the other side of this case, inside of here, is little tinders, and you basically fray this out into fluff and then use that sparker to light it, and it will burn for 4 or 5 minutes if you keep it out of the wind. Okay, now part of the reason we went with this kit is because in a lot of survival situations and you're worried about building a fire, you're going to be cold. Now whether you fell in a lake or however you got into your situation, when you're cold like that, your dexterity goes away. And so this is a very low dexterity way to start a fire that works great. Whereas like a ferro rod or something like that is actually really hard to use on a good day. You kind of really got to know what you're doing. And so we wanted something that was low dexterity with, that you didn't have to train with constantly to be that good with. Also on the fire lighting side, since I pulled it out here, we do include a ferro rod in this particular kit, and actually it comes with the Eldris kit anyway. But it's a small ferro rod, easy to carry, and a good backup way to start a fire. Now something else that we put in here is obviously 12 feet of paracord, and 12 feet's a pretty fair amount. You know, again, size is a concern, so we wanted to keep our kit smaller, and paracord takes up a lot of room, but we wanted it in the kit. But this serves a dual purpose, this particular. It's made by Live Fire, and along with the regular strands that are inside of regular paracord is an additional red cord. Now you can pull this cord out in any length you think you're going to need, fray it out a little bit, and hit it with some sparks from your ferro rod or your sparker, and it becomes a tinder and will burn for quite some time. So that's a good piece. Also shelter building and things. You talk about thermal regulation and getting in and out of rain and weather, and knowing how to build shelters is an important thing, and this is something you can use to help you build shelters and stuff. And last, on the thermal regulation, we put in an emergency survival blanket, and pretty standard to all emergency survival blankets. On the inside of this is a reflective material that reflects heat. Does a great job of it. So you wrap this around you, get up next to your fire, and it'll reflect a lot of that heat back at you, or just your body heat if that's all you've got to use. But the other side of this is interesting in that we chose to have the orange two-sided survival blanket, and we did that for a reason. Because when we were flying and we would come into LZs, a lot of times on medevacs, an orange signal panel was a great way to mark the LZ where we needed to be. And so if you're out in a situation and you're trying to be found, you lay this out into an open field where they're searching with aircraft or drones or whatever. It makes a real nice marker for them to be able to find you. And so it kind of goes along that old saying of 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So there's a dual use to that. And so with that, we'll move right into signaling, because again, one of our big 4 is to be found. Okay, so we've included a small survival whistle in here, and we chose this one because it's compact. It's a standard 3-chamber whistle, very tough, and easy to carry is probably one of the biggest reasons we chose to carry that. And then we also included some long-range signaling. We put a glass signal mirror in here. Oh, I'm messing with the camera. Anyway, we put a glass signal mirror in here because They resist scratching and things like that, and we used to carry them in our flight gear, and I never had a problem with them breaking or anything like that. But the plastic ones do tend to scratch, so we put a glass one in. And in the past, in training, we were able to signal an aircraft on a day like this easily 10 miles away with one of these. So some long-range signaling capabilities. And then kind of along the vein of signaling, we decided to put in a regular plate compass, and this is a high-quality compass, and it has measuring abilities on both sides in different scales. So you can actually do real map work with this. It's not a button compass. I'm not a big fan of those. A lot of times they are not well made, and they stick, and they can actually be dangerous if you need to know what general direction you're traveling in. And it's also a good thing to know the general direction you're traveling, you know, even if you don't have a map and don't know exact details of the area you're at. So a compass is important. And the next one we're going to cover is water procurement. And water procurement is difficult to deal with in a small package, because a lot of water containers are big and bulky and get in your way, and they're hard to carry. And so what we ended up going with was these things called whirl packs, and they're basically kind of a plastic bag. And each one of these, there's 2 included in each kit, and each one of these holds a liter of water. And once you fill it, and actually the way you use it is there's a serrated line across the top. You tear that serrated edge off. That means, I'm gonna let that go. That means that the inside of this is clean, okay? But basically you fill it, and it's got a flat bottom, and that makes it easier to work with. And basically you fold this up and fold it over just like you would a dry bag that you use when you're floating the river or anything like that. And then what's really handy, if you have to move from your water procurement site to, say, where you're hunkered down or where your shelter is at, you can hook 2 of these together with the little wires, and they'll drape over your shoulder or anything like that. So they just work really great, and they're easy to carry around. And in the water procurement, we ended up going with a chemical water purification, just because a lot of the filters are limited in use. And again, the size of this kit is really important. So basically you get 50 tablets, which treats 25 liters of water, which is pretty substantial. And ironically enough, we chose 1 liter whirl packs, which works perfectly with 2 tablets. So there's your water procurement. So there's your 3 of your 4 covered in this kit already. So now we're going to cover medical emergencies. And medical emergencies were tough also, simply because of the size of so many of the things that actually are out there for taking care of emergency situations medically. Take an Israeli bandage, for example. The Israeli bandages, as we were around, were big. You know, they were probably as big as this entire kit. Really cool, worked great. You know, we trained with them a lot, but they were big. So what we ended up was going a little retro, old school, and we decided to put a sterile ABD combi pad in this kit because of its bulk and absorbency, and we'll cover more on that here in just a second. And the other part of the medical we decided to put in there was just a good old school triangular bandage. Again, makes a fairly small package, but with a little training and some know-how, you can do a lot of things with this. You can build a really nice pressure dressing with this. You can take care of minor wounds. You can stabilize an arm or a leg fracture with it. Like I said, just tons and tons of stuff to do that you can do with just something simple like that. At least enough to get you out of the situation that you're in. So there we go. There is pretty much our kit. And we believe it does a really good job of covering the 4 major concerns when you get yourself into trouble out in the wilderness. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.